We are back. I know it's been a while, but it's not like anything has changed in the world, right? Anyways, we're going to be doing something a little new here with this video. It's the first time I've done this, so feel free to comment below. Let me know if you like it. This is going to be going over a rookie draft that I just did for a 10-team half PPR Superflex Dynasty League, and I have pick 9 after Aaron Jones cost me back-to-back championships by going off on Monday night last year. So make sure you leave some feedback in the comments on if you want to see more of this type of content, as I have 2 other contract rookie drafts that are done, and I have another contract rookie draft coming up. Plus, Matt and I recently did a Dynasty startup, so if you want some of that, make sure you comment below. There are timestamp links in the description if you want to skip to certain sections, but if not, let's get going quickly by going over my team. So on the screen, we see my ideal starters. We got Brady, Carson, Melvin Gordon, Devontae Adams, OBJ, and Landry. Note that they were drafted when they're on different teams. Kelsey, Sutton, Shepard, Tannehill. So Shepard really stands out there as kind of the weak link in this starting lineup. He's been injured a lot and doesn't put up the type of numbers that the other guys do. I know Beckham had a bad season last year, but even still, he's a top asset. As for what's on the bench for quarterbacks, we have Kirk Cousins and I guess Tyrod Taylor for a few games this year, and the rest are just kind of in case the current starter doesn't work out, although I don't see there's much value to Finley. Ripien, though, is a player because I haven't seen it from Drew Lock. Like, he had one nice game, and people are really all over him. So wait and see there with that. At running back, we have James White, and nothing special after that. A lot of backups, some guys that aren't even on teams. So definitely need to get some depth here at running back. Wide receiver is, it's nice. It's got some upside with some players like Paris Campbell and Andy Isabella, even Alan Lazard and Scotty Miller to a certain extent. And Jameson Crowder is a nice fill-in. It was pretty spotty last year, but he's a decent bye week guy. At tight end, we have Dallas Goedert. So we got Kelsey and Goddard at tight end. There's no tight end premium here or anything, so there's no real need to have more depth at tight end. But even still, I'd like to have at least one more tight end going into this. So that's something that we'll probably focus on in this draft. Hopefully getting some quarterback depth, some running back depth, and some tight end depth. But it's very unlikely where we're picking that we're going to be able to address those, at least the quarterback and running back needs with our first pick. But fingers crossed, we'll be able to probably pick up a tight end later in the draft. So here's the top 10 that I have. Quick note, this is for one quarterback. So in 2 quarterback, we'd have Burrow and Tua spotting in at number 3 and 4, pushing Edwards and Pittman out of the top 10. After those 2, my third quarterback would be Jalen Hurts, and he would probably be later on. This is a 2 quarterback draft for me. So without further ado, we are just going to jump in and get into this draft. So pick 1, we have Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Pretty standard. He's been going number 1 because of where he was picked. He's a committee back. Didn't really see him being all that good simply because he fits the committee mold, but the landing spot is just so good that I definitely don't mind him as pick 1.01. At 1.02, Jonathan Taylor. Here's a back that I am worried about. Over 900 carries in college, and he runs with a very stiff running style, so I'm afraid of injury here. In a dynasty league, it's not somebody I'd want to target. In a redraft league, I definitely don't mind him this year because you're going to get him hopefully with a later kind of picks, but sometimes rookies just get so overvalued. Either way, not a player that I'm overly interested. As you can see, I have him ranked 8th in 1 quarterback, so he'd be 10th in 2 quarterback leagues. 1.03, Joe Burrow, so the quarterbacks start going off the board. We're looking for either Dobbins or Tua at our pick at 1.09, and if we don't get either of those, we're probably going to be looking to trade back. Of course, DeAndre Swift as well, definitely a possibility. And there goes Dobbins, so I had seen him fall in some other drafts that I had done. So I was hoping, but it didn't work out. First trade of the draft, 1.05 moves back 3 spots to add Matt Breida. Not really sure what the thought process is for that. Matt Breida's value isn't overly high, But if he thinks he can get a good player at 1.08 and he has, 4 guys on his list that he's happy with, he might as well get some value out of the pick. 1.05 is CeeDee Lamb. 1.06, DeAndre Swift. So now we're really just down to Tua. We have to dodge him for 2 picks, which is possible, but unlikely. We would need Judy to go, and then we would need Cam Akers to go. Those are the names that would go here for us to get Tua. And there goes Judy, second receiver off the board in Denver. So we're just hoping 1.08 and So the guy who traded back from 1.05 to 1.08 ends up taking Tua with his pick. So now we're stuck at 1.09. And I know you're probably saying, why don't you just take Cam Akers? And the reason is because the Rams have a smart head coach in McVay. And he just went through this whole Gurley situation where they paid him so much money and saw his body deteriorate to the point where he wasn't even a good starting option for them. Yeah, but they kept forcing the ball to him. And we saw, I know the line was bad last year, but as a smart coach, he's going to put himself in a position where he doesn't have to deal with that bell cow back and that bell cow back money. He's going to go to a committee. He drafted Darrell Henderson in the 3rd round last year. He's got Cam Akers in the 2nd. And they still have Malcolm Brown, who fills that type of committee role. He's going to give himself out so that if his running back gets injured or something like the Gurley situation happens, he still has some flexibility on what he can do. So I see this being a committee. It's not the same offense that Kansas City is, although a couple of years ago it looked like it. But I'm not interested in getting a player who's going to be part of a committee who's going to have a strong game here, a weak game here, strong game here, weak game here. So I'm looking to trade out. So I throw the pick on the block. I'm looking to move back, and I'm looking to get some more value. It doesn't take long before somebody offers me their 2nd rounder and 3rd rounder for this year, but I ask for the 2nd rounder from the 2021 draft because it's supposed to be a loaded draft. I'm not looking to have too many picks in this draft. I say that now, but I end up with a few. So it's 2.05, so I'd be moving back 6 spots and a 2021 2nd, which I prefer to 3.05. So I take that, and it happens to be the person who just traded back. So it's 1.08 who took Tua, and there's a trade, 1.09 for 2.05 and a 2021 2nd, and he goes ahead and takes Cam Akers. So now it's up to the league champ picking at 1.10, and he decides to make a huge trade. 1.10, 2.10, and a 2021 first for Carson Wentz. Remember, this is a Superflex league, and this team is in dire need of a quarterback. I think he's getting Wentz for cheap. Another owner agreed with me, but then several other owners felt that they were paying a lot for Wentz. I mean, it's 1.10. You've seen the players that are gone. He didn't like anybody there, obviously. And the 2021 first, but this is a win-now team, so that's looking like another late first. And Carson Wentz, he's in win-now mode. The issue with Wentz is the possible injury, but if he doesn't get injured, he's going to be a solid player. So I'd like to trade getting the quarterback. I would happily make that trade for Carson Wentz, especially in his position. He needs quarterback more than I do. So the pick at 1.10 is Justin Jefferson, a player who I expect to be a bust. I just don't believe that it's going to work out for him. And I know I'm in the very small minority when I say that, but that is my opinion on him. I just don't think that he will succeed at the next level with his skill set. Moving on to the 2nd round. Remember, we're picking at 2.05 now. And 2.01 is Ruggs, another player who, I mean, he could find success, but I think he's going to need help to draw coverage away, and he's probably going to struggle with press coverage with his size. So it's a real boom or bust pick with a player like Ruggs. 2.02, Keyshawn Vaughn. This is a player who's really jumped up draft boards based on his landing spot, and it reminds me a lot of what happened when Ronald Jones was drafted to Tampa Bay 2 years ago. People were all over Ronald Jones. They didn't love the talent, but they loved the landing spot. And here we go again, 2 years later, same team, same position. Jalen Reagor, 2.03, definitely don't mind this pick. I think it's a good landing spot, and I don't mind the talent. I just have other wide receivers ahead of him, Mims, Higgins, Edwards, Pittman. So I wouldn't have taken him here. I would have taken him much later. But it's working out for me. So all we need here is either T. Higgins to go or Justin Herbert to go, and then we get Denzel Mims. And of course, if Denzel Mims goes here, we'll happily take T. Higgins. But let's see who goes here at 2.04. And it's Justin Herbert. So this is perfect. This is a quarterback that I had no interest in taking. Don't believe he'll be successful at the next level. He has a lot of talent, don't get me wrong, but I just don't think that it translates well in game. So 2.05 is an easy pick for me. It's Denzel Mims, and we're moving on. So now we're looking, I was thinking we were going to get Bryan Edwards at 2.09, but let's see what happens. 2.06 is Michael Pittman, another player you see on the list there, just one behind Bryan Edwards. So now I'm less confident that I'm going to be able to get a player that I like. 2.07 is Brandon Ayuk, which I think he's just going to be a better football player than he's going to be a fantasy player. I mean, unless your league has kick return yards or punt return yards, he's very effective with the ball in his hands. But they already have a player who's really effective with the ball in his hands, and that's Debo. So I don't see how they're going to work that well together. But he should be kind of like the second guy there. I don't think anybody else on the roster is a better wide receiver than him after Debo. So he'll be the number 2, but I don't think it'll be the same type of split you saw last year. It'll be Debo focused and obviously Kittle and then him. So he'll be an afterthought in a run-first offense. 2.08 is Zach Moss. So that means that we're going to be able to get T. Higgins, a top 9 player, top 9 rookie at 2.09. So that's a steal. Zach Moss is a very interesting pick and someone that we could have considered at that spot as well. As if he can stay healthy, he likely can win the starting job over Devin Singletary. Not that Devin Singletary isn't good. It's just that, well, the NFL doesn't like smaller players. And when they get somebody who's more ideal sized and they can get them to do the job, they will go with them because they don't want to have that risk of the injury from the smaller player. It sucks, but it's the way it was. Even when I was doing my review of Singletary last year, I said the guy's got talent, but is anybody going to give him a shot? And you saw how long it took for the Bills to actually let him loose, and here they are, not letting him loose. So T. Higgins is the pick here, and we're basically done with the top 10, so we can flip on over here and see kind of what we can hope to get with our next pick. So A.J. Dillon would be ideal at 3.09, but right now I'm overly excited because I want to try to get Bryan Edwards. So now I'm offering my third this year, 3.09, and my third next year. So I offer 3.09 and my 2021 third to the person who traded Carson Wentz for 1.10 and 2.10 and a 2021 first. They're not interested. They take Chanel and like, fine, I'll keep asking. 3.01, I asked them. They're also not interested. They take KJ Hamler, which is fine. And then I ask 3.02, and I don't hear from them. And then they pick Bryan Edwards. And I'm like, okay, so hopefully A.J. Dillon falls back. Or even a Jordan Love wouldn't be bad. Anthony McFarland, who's a player I just don't overly see the value in. I know the talent's there, but he's a third down, change of pace back, and there are so many bodies ahead of him in Pittsburgh that you're going to be waiting a while for this, and waiting with running backs isn't ideal. The value's just going to go down. If a running back doesn't get it done in their first or second year, usually their value kind of falls off a cliff. 3.04, Chase Claypool. If he moves to tight end, I think he could have fantastic value. I just don't see any value at wide receiver. 3.05 is Lynn Bowden Jr., basically throwing a pick away here, as this guy's going to be a gimmicky player who really isn't going to do much on that offense, fantasy-wise. 3.06 is Jordan Love, so there goes the possible quarterback we could have taken to kind of shore up our situation, once Brady retires in 2025. Fingers crossed. 3.07 is Devin Duvernay. This is a fantastic pick at this point. You can see he is the 20th player on this board when we're not including quarterbacks, so a steal here. It's a very unique situation in Baltimore with their wide receivers. They have 3 guys in Duvernay, Hollywood Brown, and James Prochet that are all undersized kind of slot guys. So it's going to be interesting how they use them, but they obviously know what they want at that position, and I'm not going to argue against it. I just don't know how it's going to work fantasy-wise for all 3 of them. But Duvernay definitely the better pick than Prochet. 3.08, there goes A.J. Dillon. So now we're looking at my board, and you can see Eno Benjamin would be the highest name that is still available. And if we look at other names possible here, Tyler Johnson, Antonio Gibson, Gandhi Golden would be there. I still feel it's pretty early for tight end, but we could go with a Cole Kmet. Definitely not those two wide receivers there. And, of course, Jalen Hurts is another name who, because the top 50 overall that we're looking at here is for one quarterback, his value shoots up because it's the two quarterbacks or Superflex league. But I decide to send a message back to the Brian Edwards owner and ask him if he was willing to trade. He apologizes for not seeing my message, and he says it's a fair deal, but he just loves the fact that he got Edwards at such a good value, and he thinks it's a steal. But he doesn't reject the trade. So as I'm deciding who I'm going to pick, and he hasn't rejected the trade yet, I'm leaning towards probably Gibson because I'm trying to force a running back here. And even though I have Eno higher, I do believe Eno will fall to 3.09. I don't want to go with Tyler Johnson, another wide receiver who's ranked like nowhere near as high as Brian Edwards was. So there's at least a 10-spot difference, if not more, with the quarterbacks. So I don't feel like I'm getting that good of a value if I don't get Edwards. But he accepts a trade, 3.09, 2021 third. I get Brian Edwards. I'm on cloud 9. There it is. My guy. 3.09, he goes with Antonio Gibson. And then 3.10, this is the defending champ's first pick of the draft after trading his first 2 round picks. He goes with Darrington Evans, who is in a nice landing spot behind Derrick Henry in Tennessee. So we're just going to speed this up along here as we get to the 4th round. We need to go over all the players. There's the first 5 picks. You can see 2 things here. One, there's this trade. The trade that happened was that 2021 third for 4.05 and 5.05. So clearly somebody wanted to have more picks in this draft. And the next thing you see is Cole Kmet going. So that means that Adam Troutman shouldn't be too far behind. And then the next 3 picks are Hurts, ouch. Tyler Johnson, ouch. But they go with Devin Asiasi instead of Troutman. So that means Troutman is still available, as is Eno Benjamin. The need is bigger at running back, although we could use some depth at tight end. So I decide to go with Eno Benjamin, get a running back in this draft. And then the champ decides he really doesn't want to pick in this draft, and he offers 4.10 for a 2021 fourth. So I jump on that. I offer him a 2021 fourth. And I go ahead and pick Adam Troutman. So now we've addressed 2 needs, running back and tight end, although I'll be in the later rounds, but we weren't very hopeful with 1.09 on addressing the running back situation. And these are all for the future. I mean, the starting lineup this year at running back with Carson and Gordon is fine. James White filling in for a couple weeks should be fine. I really don't see an issue with it, especially with the strength everywhere else. Moving on to round 5, there's the first part of it, and you can see players on the list here. Donovan People-Jones goes. Jacob Eason, who's a quarterback who I would have considered in the 5th round. Not overly sold on him being a success at the next level, but I mean, there's no reason not to take a quarterback with a 5th round pick. Also see Adam Humphries is gone. Yes, free agents are available here. And then we see the Kansas City defense and Alberto, Isaiah Coulter. So now it's our pick. And the choice here is really between Gabriel Davis or Josh Gordon. And I decided to go with Gordon just because I think he's more likely to be picked up off of the waiver wire. So I get Gordon. Yes, I know, another wide receiver. But he's likely not going to be on the roster for very long. He's either going to have an impact or he's not going to come back and he's going to end up being dropped. So this is just more of a high upside for this year pick. He's a player who could easily take Sterling Shepard's spot if he ends up playing. And the last pick of the draft is Jacoby Brissett, so another quarterback for the quarterback-hungry team that got Carson Wentz. So I'm quite happy with the draft. I get 3 amazing players, and then I addressed a running back need and a tight end need, and the 5th round pick is going to be a 5th round pick. Let's face it, you're not expecting a lot. The fact that I get Josh Gordon could be a steal, likely will be nothing. And I have a waiver wire claim in for Gabriel Davis, dropping John Ursua, the wide receiver from Seattle. Yeah, so like I said, this is my first time doing a video like this. Let me know what your thoughts were. Let me know if you want to see more. I do have other drafts. I do have a Dynasty startup that we can go through. But yeah, comment down below, and that's it.